Hey everyone, welcome to Leap's launch day stream. I hope everyone's doing great today. We're super excited. It's been a long few weeks and days getting to this point, but we're super happy to finally have Leap out the door. So I'm Marcus, founder of Leap, and I'm here with Andre, the other founder.
Hey everybody, it's a very exciting day indeed.
And as usual, when you do live streams like this, we may run into small audio issues or delays. So if you're watching on YouTube, please use the comment section to post your questions or let us know if there's any issues with the audio, and we'll figure that out. Before we sort of begin, maybe we should stop and sort of recap what is Leap. Like we've been working on it for a few months, but it's really a new way of using AI to create real applications. So we're calling it the first AI developer agent that can help you build real production grade applications and deploy them straight to your own cloud. So that's on AWS and GCP. And Andre, maybe you want to tell us a bit about why we built Leap in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, there are a lot of AI builders out there, um, and what we found is they mainly focus on non-developers and mainly on sort of front-end development. And we think that that's all very useful, that's all very good, but if you are a developer, you find that they are quite lacking in serving you as a user. Um, they typically focus on sort of like very sort of locked in backend as a service platforms, and they don't really think about like production use cases like how do you have multiple environments? How do you deal with cloud infrastructure? How do you build backends with real APIs? These are all things that we as developers care about and that are really important if you want to build something real. Um, and that's really our background, starting with Encore, building Encore as a backend framework, Encore Cloud for the sort of DevOps automation side, and uh, Leap feels like a perfect complement to that, where we can also serve uh, this new way, up and coming way of building real world applications in a way that's extremely compelling and sort of brings together all of that expertise that we have from Encore into an experience that is much more developer friendly.
Exactly. And I guess we want to be super clear that we really see developers as the main audience for Leap. We don't want to replace developers at all. We just want to provide even better tools and use AI to help developers like ourselves get even more stuff done. And nor do we want to criticize all these other tools that we say they're limited, but from our point of view, as far as we can understand, like they're not actually making tools for developers. They're trying to make simpler tools for people who maybe can't code at all. So it makes sense that they're maybe less comprehensive than what we're trying to do with Leap. So teach their own. So with Leap, we definitely wanted something more powerful and something with more capabilities for developers to build, as you said, like real scalable applications where you have control over the architecture, the APIs, the infrastructure, and being able to deploy it to your own cloud. So is that enough talk? Should we try and get into some demos, show how it actually works for people who maybe haven't tried it yet?
I think we should. And if you have questions, you can always type them in the chat. I believe we'll pick up change questions from at least from YouTube. Is that right, Marcus?
Yes. So just put it in the chat and we'll either answer it as we go along or cover it towards the end.
And I know people are excited, so let's just get into it. And I'm sure we'll have plenty of questions, and we can take it from there. And I'll try to explain what Leap is as we go along.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see our first live demo of Leap. See if the live demo gods are with us.
Indeed. Can you all see my screen?
I can definitely see it.
Is it? Have you shared it with the world?
It's with the world, I think. But yeah, do let us know. Post in the comments.
Very well. So what we're looking at here is Leap, and Leap is, if you're familiar with similar tools like this, like we said, it's a AI-based tool for developers building real-world applications. And I just to give us a bit of a starting point, I have put together a simple prototype of a music streaming application. And this is like, if you've looked at other tools, this is quite a common use case because pretty much everybody is familiar with something like Spotify. Marcus and I, before we founded Encore, we were both at Spotify together with a large chunk of our founding team. So it also felt like a good callback to that. So what is Leap? Well, let's just take a look at what I built here. So here you can see a very Spotify-like application where you have your menu navigation here, you have your sort of content window where you have artists and you have albums and you have tracks. You can
So
also
I realize now that the Spotify color scheme, for some reason, is very similar to the Leap color scheme. We used to call it Stockholm Black at Spotify. So maybe you need to even like if you've never seen Leap before, maybe you need to clarify like which part is Leap and which part is your app that you're building.
Oh, very good point. Okay, so if we start here, this is the main view that you see when you open Leap. Here on the left-hand side, you have a chat history where you can interact with the AI and have it generate code for you. And we'll get more into this in just a moment. On the right-hand side, we have the code view, and here you have build logs, real-time logs from the system. Test logs are coming soon, and up here you have things like code search and code structure and things like that. On the top navigation here you have preview, which is what I was showing. So this is a live preview of the application that you built together with Leap. So here is the navigation bar, and then this is the content, which is like a live view of the application you built. I can open it in a separate tab too. This is the full screen view of the application that we built. So hopefully that clarifies where what the application looks like versus what Leap looks like. So just embedding this in an iframe here. So before we look at Leap, let's look at this application. So what we have here is a very simple Spotify-like experience. You can click into artists, so you have artist pages. You have a description of the artist. You have albums. You have songs, and it just looks and feels very much like if you've ever used something like Spotify. Like it feels very, very, very at home, and that's all well and good. But where Leap starts to distinguish itself from other tools is this is a full stack application. This is these things that we're serving, they're not placeholder content. In fact, if we look here, if we open up the logs section here, you can see that as I'm navigating here, that's actually making API calls to a real backend. So we can take all of these things and we can actually play real music. So you're not going to hear this, but if I take this and I hit play, you can see that it actually starts playing. And this is serving content from object storage. I can jump ahead in the stream. I can pause. I can play. All of this is done using real-world backend business logic. I also have I've added an AI back office where I can go in and here because it wouldn't be an AI demo if it didn't involve AI of some sort. I can actually generate artists for sort of placeholder content. So let's say that I want to generate an indie singer, songwriter from Denver who specializes in cat music.
How did you know that was my favorite kind of music?
Well, it's a very commonplace request, and I figured I know you quite well from working together with you for a couple of years. So here we can see that as this is happening, it's making an API call to the back office service, which is then generating all of this. Under the hood, this is then using OpenAI to do the generation, and now it's generated a complete artist. So now if we go back here to the homepage, we can see that we have a new artist here, Whisker Harmonies. And this has all been generated. And here are the tracks. Now, what's particularly cool about this is we don't just support generating placeholder content. We can even go in and we can upload audio directly. So if we say actually, let's upload some audio for the Catnip Dreams song as a back office administrator, then you can actually start playing this. So it truly is a full stack application that you can really build real world things. Now, if we take a look at the rest of Leap here, we can see that we have the preview pane. Then we also have the architecture view. So this is showing the full power of Leap, where this is powered by Encore, which is our backend development framework. And Leap has actually constructed a backend application consisting of 5 different backend services. So you have the playlist service, you have the tracks, albums, and artists services. They each have their own databases. And then we have the back office service that is also using these other services and their databases to orchestrate its work. We can take a look on the infrastructure page, and here you can see that you can define secrets. I've added my OpenAI key here so that I can generate part of that. We have all of the compute that's running. We have all the databases that are running. And we have object storage buckets for storing things like album covers and artist images and track audio. And then we have the service catalog where you can see the full API endpoints and services that have been created for every endpoint in the whole system. And all of this is generated automatically through the power of Encore together with Leap. You can also call these directly from the service catalog and see the responses. So here are the artists and their the albums that have been defined in this application.
So
That sounds
that's
very good.
calling the database of that service basically in the
Yeah,
preview environment.
exactly. So this is making an API call to the backend, and the backend itself is then querying the database to return all of the albums. So
And
that's
this is
all.
all defined in the application and run in Leap. You don't need to connect any third-party platform, no Supabase, no anything like that.
Exactly. So this is the core experience of what it means to use Leap. Now, the way it works is here on the left, it wouldn't be a demo if we don't actually build something. So I'm going to take what I added most recently, which is the ability to upload images, and I'm going to press merge change. And what this does is Leap essentially breaks down your changes into, it breaks down the work you do into what we call changes. And you can think of each change as like a pull request, where as you're working on something, you can then iterate until you're happy with it. And once you're happy with it, you can merge it. And if it doesn't end up the way you want, you could also discard it. But in this case, we're happy with the functionality, so I'm going to merge this. And once you merge something, then Leap will give you suggestions on what you can do next. And all of this is powered by AI, and it's based on the functionality that is already present in the application and what the AI thinks is like a good next step. Now, in this case, if I go to light songs, nothing happens. In fact, if I open up the logs, we can see that there is no route for the light songs. And that's because it hasn't been implemented yet. So I'm going to go ahead and go with the recommended feature to implement here. And this will then populate the prompt with a suggestion on what to do. And we're just going to go ahead and submit that. And it will, the AI will start to generate code, and we can actually follow along with this. We can see that it's generating now a new service. It's generating a new database. It's adding a database table. And then it's adding API endpoints. You can see that it's very fast at generating code. All of this is powered by Claude Sonnet 4 at the moment, but we're constantly, of course, keeping up with new model releases. We're also using other models for other features, but the code generation itself is powered by Claude 4. So while this is generating, we can also take a look at, just to give you a sense of how quickly you can build real applications like this. You can see that I actually started building this less than an hour ago when the demo started. So it took me about 40 minutes to get to a point where I had like a fully up and working end-to-end full stack Spotify music streaming application with albums and artists and AI generated back office, playing music, all of that.
And I know for a fact I was bugging you with some questions from our users at the same time. So we were answering people on Discord while you were doing that.
Yeah, so hopefully that goes to show just how powerful something like this can be at, building real world applications extremely quickly. So we'll wait until it's done with the code generation.
So while we're waiting, we have a question from Ethan. Is this a once in a lifetime, it took me 40 minutes, or is it a common pattern you saw during testing?
This is not a synthetic example whatsoever. We've trained this a lot on all the knowledge about Encore as a backend framework. It's really good about understanding React as it is. We put together all of that with all the infrastructure that it supports. What we may see here is Encore does a lot of code analysis and static. You can see here the validating step here. So after it generated code, it goes through a lot of validation to make sure that everything compiles, everything type checks, and if it doesn't, it will automatically fix things before it considers the code generation to be done. So that means that it's very, very high quality code. It almost always works right out of the box. And um, so it's not at all a unique experience in that sense. So let's see. Now let's see if this works. So I click Light Songs, and you can see that it's now hovering as a green icon. If I go to Light Songs, I have it right there.
There you go. The nice cover art as well.
Exactly. Um, Now you can also say like show the green heart even when not hovering over the track, because that's I think that would look nicer. And then it will keep going and tweak that. But what's really powerful about this concept of changes is that it gives you as a developer control over the context. Because now as I'm making changes here, all of the context from previous chat messages will be included, because that's typically what you want when you're, making adjustments. The large language model really needs to know about what you've talked about in the past. But a downside of that is that the context window can get very long over time, which both reduces quality and it uses up more tokens, right? So when you press merge, all of that will be collapsed. And when you create a new change, you essentially get a new chat history from scratch that only includes like the project context, the like summarize of all the changes and the code base. And that means that you have much more control over what context gets included as you're developing.
So the recommended sort of way of working is to keep your changes so focused on a specific feature or a smaller change, and then merge it as you would a pull request and start a new one when you're starting a new feature.
Yeah, exactly. So you can really think of changes as pull request. So
And
now we can see that it's all it's visible all the time. So now
it's
I can go
nice.
ahead and like other things, and they will
But
show up here.
that hover effect is quite ugly with the white box. Maybe you can show the manual way of changing that, or am I throwing you under the bus? So you don't have to use the LLM, right? If you want to be focused and you know how to fix things, you could do it yourself, right?
Yeah. So if we go to let's see the favorite button here, you can see here that all of this is you can just click on the button, you'll end up here, and you can see that we have things like the code itself. Now, I'm not sure if that's where it's located or if it's actually here. Let's see what the diff says. So anytime when the LLM makes any changes, uh, you see here the diff. So you can click there to jump to the diff itself. So here we can see that this is embedding the favorite button, and if we then jump to the favorite button. Now I'm not an expert on all of this, so I would need to do a bit of research into exactly what I would need to change. But let's say that instead of doing that, we could say, let's just remove this and see if that helps. I'm a backend developer, not a frontend developer.
That's the problem.
Exactly. So now if I hit, you can see that it says I have unsaved changes. I hit save. And what will happen is that will get recorded as a manual code change, which will then be built. And then if I go over to the we can see here that, okay, well, that's much better. So now the heart stays colored the same way.
That's good. So by doing that manually, you saved a few tokens. And on that topic, we have a question from the audience. How many free credits do you get to first test it out?
So to test it out, we don't publish the exact number of tokens because we are still iterating heavily on like how we're optimizing the token spend, how we are sort of like how we can more effectively use caching, things like that to reduce the token spend. And we're also iterating to make sure that we can provide a good free experience without forcing you to pay because as you know, like large language models are quite expensive to run. So we can't just give all of this away for free. We need to actually pay the bills. But so we haven't nailed down exactly the number of tokens that are part of the free tier just yet. So we do plan on saying or documenting that when we feel more comfortable with the level of usage and how people are using it.
But until then, you can go, if you show the subscription page, you can see your token usage. So even if you're on the free tier, you can see so your monthly usage. And on the free tier is also a daily limit, just because we have so many free users, and we're actually limited by the AI model providers themselves in how much capacity overall we get to use right now. So there's a daily limit and then a monthly limit. So if you're a free user, you can use it for a while each day, and then up to a certain monthly limit as well. And then if you choose to pay, you can use all of your monthly tokens whenever you like.
Yeah. I should note when I started this project, I had worked on other example projects too. So, but as you can see, this is like a real world application, and I'm not even close to even using up the smallest paid plan that we have. So you can come very far on the paid version, and our goal with the free version is you should definitely be able to build something real with that. You just might not be able to do all of it in a single day because of the capacity constraints like Marcus was mentioning. Cool. So I'm gonna merge this change. And now you can see that now we have new suggestions on what to do next. But instead of doing that, I figured we should take this to the real cloud. So if I click deploy here, you can see that this is our deploy page, and unlike a lot of other tools, we understand that developers actually need more than just a single environment. So with Leap, you can connect your own cloud and deploy to there, and you can have multiple environments and deploy to them individually. So I've already created this before, so we can take a look at that shortly. So what I want to do first is I want to connect and set up a GCP environment. So I'm going to press create, connect. This will then open up a modal where you can put in a name of the environment. I'm going to say let's use Cloud Run because that's quite fast. You can also deploy to Kubernetes. You can import existing clusters. You can split things into multiple deployments, and you can choose how you use which database provider, which object storage provider. We're just going to go with
So
the default.
before you click next, maybe we can give people a hint here that why this pop-up is off-white in color, and that's the Encore colors. So whenever you you use Leap's built-in deployment functionality that's powered by Encore Cloud. And a small hint when you're interacting with it is these white colors, right? So you know you're creating an environment using Encore Cloud. But you don't have to. That's not the only way of deploying, right? So you could click the GitHub button and sync your code to GitHub, and then use open source tools to deploy your app wherever you like, package that as a Docker container. But it's good to keep in mind, like whenever you see this off-white color, you're using Encore Cloud, which provides like free hosting environments. And then with our Encore Pro tier, you get these automations for AWS and GCP.
Yeah. That's a very good call. So you can see here, it's a bit darkened now because I'm opening the modal, but this is our GitHub integration. So all of the code that Leap generates, you can have that automatically synced to GitHub, and then you can use, like Marcus mentioned, you can use any tool of your choice you can deploy to DigitalOcean, you can deploy to Google Cloud, AWS, anywhere that supports running Docker images. Encore has built-in open source tooling for that. So this is just a convenience to deploy to the cloud quickly, but you don't have to use it. All of the code that Leap generates is entirely yours. And Encore as a backend framework is entirely open source, so you can use that to deploy wherever you would like. Cool. So now I've created a GCP environment. I can press deploy, and now it is going to deploy. So I'm going to click here to view the deploy logs. And here we can see that we have this new GCP environment. And what happens next is now we're looking at Encore Cloud. So this is a cloud and DevOps automation platform that we have built. It's also designed to work with Encore as a backend framework. And now you can see that after it built and ran all of the tests and compiled everything, it will provision a bunch of cloud infrastructure. So we can see that it's provisioning cloud run instances. It is provisioning a database cluster. Inside of that, we have all of the databases that our application has configured. And all of this is based on the source code itself. So it's all based on the architecture diagram here. So these are exactly the same databases. And then we have object storage buckets, and then a whole bunch of other resources. So it's reserved IP addresses and projects and access controls and permissions. And this is the complexity that Encore Cloud automates and simplifies for you. So as soon as this is all created, then it will take over and start deploying.
What's maybe important to call out while we're looking at that is that while you can see these resources here via the Encore Cloud dashboard, you can equally see them in your, in this case, GCP cloud environment as well. So you could open the GCP console, you could look at them there and configure them there, just as you would normally as well. So it really gives you some full control and full transparency into how things are set up.
Yeah, exactly. So I think while we're waiting for this, we can take a look at how this looks for Encore Cloud. So I set this up for the demo, but this is the other environment that has been that we've deployed to, and this is using Encore Cloud's free tier built-in hosting. So once you have that in place, then you can view all of that. You can view traces and see exactly what's happening there. And you can even, this is the deployed version of the application. So let's let's see if this is ready now. Not quite. Unfortunately, when we're waiting on things like a database cluster, it takes a bit of time for it to actually be ready because it's Google Cloud. So we might not get to see that complete. But this is the staging environment that I deployed. No, sorry. Uh, uh, this is the application that I deployed. So you can see that this is as a different artist name. This is because this is deployed to Encore Cloud, so it's not the preview environment that I deployed using Leap. It's a separate environment.
So that's
And
maybe also a key distinction from like how some of these other AI builders work, where when you're integrating with Supabase, you're sort of in the tool itself, you're working against maybe your real database, which can be pretty scary. Whereas here in Leap, the preview environment itself is completely isolated and separate from all your other environments, which is good if you're quick to press the deploy button or quick to press the merge button.
yeah, exactly. So here we can see, as we're waiting on the deploy to finish, we can see everything that's happening. We're still waiting on the Cloud SQL server to be created. Unfortunately, this takes like 20 minutes, so it will take some time before it's completed. But in short, that's Leap for you. Anything else we should demonstrate while we're here, Marcus?
I don't know if there's anything more we need to demo, but maybe we can talk a bit about like who this is for, or like obviously for developers, but like what are you supposed to use it for? In which circumstances does it make sense?
So um, as we've seen with this demo, right, you can build quite complex applications very quickly, and it's designed to implement a lot of best practices in terms of what Encore supports. So it knows how databases work, it knows how object storage works, it knows how PubSub works, how to define APIs. Um, and so it's a very good way to get something up and running quickly. Um, I think that as a developer, you will find that you can get extremely far in just a matter of hours that would otherwise take you days. And you can experiment with real infrastructure built into the experience. Um, you have the front end, you have the back end, you have the seamless integration, you have the preview environment, and the infrastructure automation. And that means that if you have an idea for wanting to build something, whether that's just a hobby project of yours, or you are working with a client and you want to be able to take something and show them, like, is this what you're thinking? It's much more compelling to be able to have that actually work with real world infrastructure. And Encore as a framework is designed to scale as far as you need it. There are companies using Encore with hundreds of services and several hundred different pieces of infrastructure and millions and millions of requests per day, billions per month, and all of this is what we're building here, because it's leveraging Encore as a framework, as well as all of the infrastructure that the cloud offers. You can take these applications and you can scale them to as many users as you can imagine. And so we've taken all those best practices in terms of how to structure applications. We've built that into how Leap generates code. And so even though it's designed to go from an idea to a working prototype or an initial version extremely quickly, um, it's not something that you ever need to throw away. it's something that you can keep building on and uh, keep iterating on until you have like a real world production ready system, because that's what it means to be for developers, right? It's not something where you ever feel like, okay, well now I've prototyped it, now I need to throw it away and start over. No, you can just keep building, and once you're happy with it, just deploy it straight to production. Um, we anticipate that, you know, this is something that as large language models get better and better, you will be able to build larger and larger systems. But I think at some point, if you're a developer and you're comfortable with using an IDE and you have a preference for there, probably at some point you will want to use the GitHub uh, sync functionality and sort of take the application that you built with Leap and keep building using the editor of your choice. Um, but you can get very, very far very, very quickly.
Yeah, and if you use something like Cursor with uh, the Cursor rules file you can get from the Encore open source repo, then you get kind of a similar experience, but Cursor is very well designed for dealing with large code bases, and they do a lot of impressive stuff, right, to make their tool handle that in a good way. So that's sort of a good place to go, I think, once you hit a large scale system and you find that may be more effective. So we have a question from the audience connected to this around for who is Leap not a good fit. What do you think?
I mean, given that we're targeting developers, I think that it's definitely more designed for technical people. So I would say if you're a non-technical person, you may find that, you know, it is, you know, I'm not sure if a non-technical person would fully understand, you know, all of the information, like, oh, what's the request schema for this API endpoint, things like that. What's the point of an architecture diagram? Why should I uh, care about backend logs or tests um, or having multiple environments and things like that? It says the deploy failed, but I don't think that's true. I think it just
Not done yet.
I think it gave up because it took too long, because Google Cloud is slow at creating a database. We'll have to fix that. So that's my main suggestion. Also, I would say that, you know, Encore as a framework is really designed for building, you know, backend APIs, typically like request response, WebSocket streaming, things like that. If you're not looking to build an application with like a REST API or a web based API, then probably it's not a good fit for that. You know, this is not a good tool for building like an iOS application. It can be a great tool for building an API that is powering an iOS application. But if you're looking to build the app itself, then Leap is not the right tool for that. It's mainly for like backend applications that you want to deploy to the cloud somewhere. And then uh, if you want like a front end, a web front end to go along with that, then the front end part is quite optional. You can just build a backend only thing if you wish. You can also build a front end only thing, but either one of those things must be true. I wouldn't use it for building something entirely unrelated to those.
Yeah. Another audience question from Christopher. Do you believe this tool can enable developers to take something from an initial idea all the way to production grade product that's ready to launch and monetize? Yes, for
Absolutely.
sure. And we already have some users who are basically doing that already. So go do it yourself if that's what you're looking for. And also, we've seen like our beta group has been a bunch of great people trying it out and giving us feedback, but also a bunch of people who have been using Encore for a really long time, building very large commercial products. And they've been using it to build new services for their applications. So it's definitely built and designed and ready for that. Let's see, we have a bunch of questions now. Let's try and get through them.
Fire away.
Do you have large, or do you give a large documentation for AI, Claude, Gemini, copy and pastes? Not 100% sure what you mean. Andre, any guesses?
I mean, if you're asking about sort of this like LLM instructions, then we do provide that as part of the Encore open source project. So there you could go into github.com/encore/encore, and you have we provide large language model instructions for both TypeScript and Go. So you can take a look at that and include that in your prompt. But I'm not sure if there's something else that you were asking.
Yeah, you can put a new question in the chat if that didn't answer your question. Another one, can I build a mini e-commerce backend by using Leap?
Absolutely.
And then can I clone a front end in HTML and CSS, JS, React?
Clone a front end, you said?
Clone a front end, yeah.
So yes, I mean it depends. We don't have the ability to like upload an image and have it generate something similar. That's functionality that we plan on adding. Uh, Obviously, if it's something very popular, like here I asked it to do something that's like similar to Spotify and it knows what that is. Uh, Obviously, if you're looking to clone something, you should be careful about copyright and things like that. I mean, this is just a demo for non-commercial purposes. I would not recommend
Well,
shipping
yet.
something.
We'll see what
Yeah.
happens.
Uh, and we've already worked at Spotify, Marcus. We don't need to do that
Oh, no.
again. But yeah, so if you're just looking for something like that, and it's a thing, it can be convenient to say, you know, build something similar to Spotify because it means that the large language model knows what that means. But otherwise, you can always just give it more detailed instructions, and it
Yeah.
will understand just from what you're asking for.
Another question, is it using Postgres? Yes.
Yeah, so the databases for are all Postgres based, and now that the GCP deployment has been provisioned, you can see that we now have Cloud Run instances. You can click here to jump uh, straight to the underlying infrastructure. So this is deployed on Google Cloud. Here you have the database cluster. So you can jump straight to that, and we can see this is running Postgres 16.
Nice. Do we support any other databases?
In terms of relational databases, currently it's Postgres. We have, I mean, if you want to store non-structured data, then we have object storage, which is very scalable for that. We don't really have built-in support for other databases at the moment, but if you're deploying to your own cloud using either taking the application and deploying it yourself, or using the Encore Cloud automation that I'm showing you right now, you can of course always set up any infrastructure that you want and connect to it like you normally would. So like You can use a connection string in a secret and connect to that if you want to do something like MongoDB, or anything like that. All of that is possible, but in terms of the built-in automation for like proper databases, then currently it's Postgres that we support. We do plan on adding support for more databases like MongoDB in the future.
Yeah, so keep an eye out for that. That's actually all the time we have for questions, but we can squeeze one last in just because I said it after you posted it. So here we go. So Christopher asks, when it comes to pub sub architecture, does Leap assist with making those decisions during development?
Yeah, I mean it understands. We both taught it like to use PubSub. It also understands like microservices if you want to build something like that. So you can absolutely ask it to architect it in a certain way. And if you, for example, want more like a microservices style with event-driven, it absolutely understands how to do that. But as with everything, the higher quality intent you can provide, the better typically. When I designed this application, typically the each sort of feature that I built, I wrote like about like a paragraph of text, like like 2 to 4 sentences explaining like, okay, next I want to add this service. I want this added as like a separate service. Um, use object storage for storing the audio. Uh, you know, just give it very lightweight hints on what you're looking for, and it will do a very good job following that. If you don't do that, then it will decide on something based on like the existing structure. So if you have a bunch of microservices, then it will typically decide to, when you have like a new feature, like the favorites feature, it will decide to create a new service because that's like following the existing conventions.
Hopefully that answers your question. And now we really don't have time for any more. But thank you everyone for joining today. I hope you're as excited as we are to try Leap. And please bear with us. As we mentioned before, we're still working through a couple of rough edges. It's launch day after all, and we're still a bit limited in overall AI capacity, which we're gradually unlocking. So if you run into issues with sort of requests failing, just give it a minute or 10 seconds and try again, and it should work fine. And if you have any feedback or questions, like we'd love to hear it. And there are two or three main ways you can give us feedback. Andre, if you switch back to Leap for a second and make any sort of tiny change, that's going to be quick. After Leap completes a change, you have a small button at the bottom of it that says some bug report or something like that, report issue. So you can click that, and that opens an inline sort of feedback form. You can describe the issue. So if you see it making some really weird change that does not all seem right to you, you can use that and you can send it, and that gives us a really good feedback loop to help improve how Leap's AI is performing. And then if you have any other sort of feedback or issues to run into, you can join our Discord. So if you open the left side now, there's a help button that will go to our Discord. And then you can, of course, also email us at hello@leap.new. And yeah, any of those channels. But the more you report issues, the better we can make it. It's never going to be worse than it is today on launch day. It's going to get much better really soon. So I hope you try it out and you stick it out with us. Anything you want to add, Andre, or do you want to get back to building?
No, I'm gonna ship this music streaming application. I'm excited. Oh, Leap is available for everyone, so it's generally available as of today. So
Finally.
let it's been a couple of months coming, but we're super excited to see what you and we and everybody else does with it. I'm very excited.
Yeah, so everyone jump over to Leap.new and start building, and we'll see you over on Discord. Thanks for joining. Bye.